Those above. I remember the night clearly, though nights do not linger that way in memory until something disturbs them. It began as a routine evening at home after a day spent teaching navigation instruments to cadets at the airfield. I had no expectation whatsoever of what would come. Earlier that day, a colleague forwarded me a link on the internet, some story from the US, a congresswoman, Anna Paulina Luna, telling about a mysterious incursion into airspace, something that outperformed even an F-16. It was framed as a plea for transparency, but it felt like a warning. I glanced at it, felt a chill. But I shrugged it off. I was in Ukraine teaching, grounded. Nothing upward bound could reach me, or so I thought. That night, I stepped outside my small house on the outskirts of Kiev. The sky was clear, stars scattered in distant constellations. The air smelled of summer grain, of dew forming on grass. I breathed and thought of how ordinary the world seemed. Then, something slid across my vision, swift and silent. A dark shape against the stars. I froze. It was no plane, no meteor. It hovered just off the tree line, then retreated. I blinked. It vanished. My heart pounded. I grabbed binoculars, nothing. I flicked through frequencies on my old scanner, only static. My skin prickled with dread and wonder. Was it connected to that US report? Luna's story echoed in my mind. It outperformed them. They can't really identify it. I whispered those words aloud. Silence answered. What had I seen? Who or what is watching us? I grabbed my camera, heart racing, rate equals 120%, pitch equals plus second, hand shaking with the urgency of wanting proof, needing answers. I crept to the garden, squinting into the darkness. Nothing. Still, something was off. Like the sky itself waited. I returned inside, locked doors. Light from the street then cast shadows long, trembling. I replayed the video, dark blur, silent, gone. I couldn't rest. Dread thrummed in my veins. And then, the sound of soft, distant, like whispering wind, though the air was still. I pressed my ear to the window. Nothing. But I knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke with a weight in my chest. I had barely slept. My mind circled the dark blur on the screen, the hovering silence outside my house. It might have been nothing, but why did it feel like everything? At the airfield, I tried to focus on my cadets. Their voices, their laughter, their careless energy, it should have distracted me. But while they traced maps and calculated flight paths, my eyes kept straying to the sky. Clear. Blue. Empty. Too empty. During a break, I checked the news on my phone. The story about Anna Paulina Luna was still trending. Commentators argued, some called it propaganda, others a glimpse into the truth. A pilot from Nevada claimed on video that he had seen a craft with no wings, no exhaust, no sound. My fingers tightened around the phone. Their words matched what I saw. Too perfectly. Later, in the instructor S lounge, my colleague Petra leaned toward me. You look pale, didn't he sleep? I forced a smile. I thought I saw something strange in the sky last night. Strange how? I hesitated. If I admitted too much, I'd sound insane. But Petro's eyes were sharp, expectant. It hovered, moved too fast, silent. You shouldn't talk about that here, not with the military contract still in place. His words chilled me. Petro knew something. He turned away quickly, as if he'd already said too much. That evening, I returned home restless. The blur on my recording gnawed at me. I loaded the video onto my computer, enhanced contrast, adjusted the frames. Shapes emerged, just faint outlines. Angular. Unnatural. For a moment, I thought I saw something like a structure. Then static drowned the image. My monitor flickered. My hands trembled. I decided to drive out beyond the city lights, to the old observation tower near the woods. If they came back, I needed to be ready. I packed binoculars, a camera, and a field recorder. The tower creaked under my weight as I climbed. Wind whispered through the trees. The horizon burned faint orange, fading into black. For a long time, nothing. Only stars. Only silence. Then movement. Southeast. A shimmer like glass catch in moonlight. It grew brighter. My pulse quickened. The air grew still. Too still. No crickets, no dogs barking, no rustle of leaves. Through binoculars, I saw it, a geometric shape impossible at Rome. It tilted, rotated, then stopped absolutely still above the tree line. And then, without warning, a beam of pale light lanced downward, striking somewhere in the forest. I gasped, heart racing. My recorder clicked on. The light remained steady, unwavering, like a finger pointing at something hidden. And then I heard it. A low hum, not mechanical, not natural. It vibrated in my bones, in my teeth. My vision blurred. The air smelled of ozone, sharp and metallic. I stumbled, nearly falling from the platform. When I looked again, the beam was gone. The object gone. Only the forest, silent and black. But something had changed. On the forest floor, where the beam had touched, faint light flickered between the trees. Moving. As though someone was walking there. And then, the recorder in my hand still running captured a sound I will never forget. A voice. Not human. Not animal. Whispering, layered, in a language that did not belong to this earth. I played the recording back again and again that night. Each time, the whispering grew sharper, as though my mind began to recognize patterns hidden in the distortion. Not words, not exactly. More like intentions. The layers overlapped low, resonant tones weaving with higher, almost crystalline echoes. It felt less like speech and more like something reaching directly into thought. Sleep would not come. My body was tired, but my mind raced, caught in a current too strong to resist. Around 3 a.m, I opened the curtains. The forest loomed still and dark, but I could swear deep within the tree line something faintly glowed. Moving. Watching. The next day, I brought the recorder to Petro. We met outside the hangar, away from others. He listened, his face tightening. He handed it back quickly, eyes darting to make sure no one else had heard. "Destroy this," he muttered. "Forget you saw anything." I gripped his arm. "You know what this has done to you?" His lips pressed into a thin line. "All I'll say, it is not the first time, and you don't want to be noticed." He pulled away, leaving me with more questions than answers. That evening, I returned to the tower. My nerves buzzed with equal parts fear and anticipation. As I climbed, the air grew oddly heavy. Thoughts slid across the moon, muting its glow. I set up the camera, the recorder, binoculars. My hand shook, but this time, I refused to look away. Hours passed. The forest slept. The world waited. Then a flicker. A glint, like metal catching starlight, though no metal should be there. Slowly and possibly, the shape emerged. Not flying this time. Rising. As though it had been buried in the earth and was lifting free. I stared, breath caught in my chest. The thing was massive, far larger than I had imagined. Its surface shifted like liquid metal, bending the stars behind it. A distortion, as though space itself bent around its edges. My skin prickles, every instinct screaming to run. That my feet rooted to the platform. And then light again. Not a beam this time. A pulse. It rippled outward, silent, but I felt it deep in my ribs, in the back of my skull. The recorder spiked with static. My camera lens whined, adjusting wildly. The pulse struck me like a wave. My knees buckled. My vision tunneled. And in that collapsing darkness I saw something. Not with my eyes, but burned directly into thought. Images fragmented, blurred. Skies splitting open. Machines without pilots. A face not human staring down as though it had always known me. I gasped, falling to the wooden floorboards. The world rushed back, cold night air, trembling trees. The shape still hovered, silent and possibly vast. But the glow within the forest had multiplied. Not one. Not two. Dozens. Moving with purpose. My recorder sputtered, then cut out. The platform groaned beneath me. And somewhere, not from the woods, not from the sky, but from inside my own skull, a single thought arrived. Clear. Commanding. Unavoidable. Come closer. Come closer. The words or the thought echoed through me long after the sound had faded. I lay there on the platform, chest heaving, trying to convince myself it was only imagination. But the sensation, it wasn't like a dream. It was precise, invasive. As if something vast and intelligent had reached into my mind and placed a command there with deliberate intent. I stumbled down from the tower, every board groaning beneath my weight. My flashlight shook in my hand. The forest waited, still and black, but the faint glimmers were still there. Dozens of them, weaving like lanterns carried by unseen hands. The closer I walked, the louder that inner hum grew, resonating in my skull, in my bones. Halfway down the path, I stopped. Something told me no, insisted that if I went further, I would not come back the same. My instinct screamed to turn around. But curiosity, no, something stronger, something planted inside me, pushed me forward. Branches brushed against my shoulders. The smell of ozone lingered, faint but sharp. The silence pressed against my ears until I could hear my own pulse pounding. And then I saw it. A circle. Perfect, etched into the clearing as though fire had licked the ground in precise geometry. The earth inside the circle was blackened, smoking. And at its center nothing. Just air shimmering like heat above asphalt. But the shimmer bent, pulled, distorted as though the space itself was unstable. I raised the recorder again. Static hissed, then warped. My own voice began to echo back, delayed, broken into fragments. Closer, closer. My throat went dry. I hadn't spoken those words. Not then. Not out loud. The lights between the trees shifted. Some drew nearer, circling. They moved too smoothly, gliding instead of walking. I felt their attention tighten around me like invisible hands pressing down, pinning me to the ground though I hadn't moved an inch. Suddenly a rustle. Real, physical. My flashlight beams one to the right. A man as silhouette stood among the trees. Human. Watching. I froze. He didn't move, didn't speak. Just stared until the circle of pale glow swallowed him. For a heartbeat, he was gone. Then closer. 10 steps away. Eyes reflecting a natural light. I whispered, voice shaking. "Who are you?" The figure's mouth opened. His voice was calm, almost familiar. "You shouldn't be here. They've already seen you." Before I could answer, the shimmer in the circle fled, blinding, soundless. My knees buckled. The lights darted forward, converging around me in precise formation. The man's outline wavered, as though he were only a reflection. And then I wasn't in the forest anymore. The ground beneath me was smooth, metallic. A low vibration filled the air. I looked up and realized there was no sky. Only darkness, endless, pressing close. Yet something vast moved within it. Watching. Waiting. The air was cold, yet not air at all. It pressed against my skin like water, though I could still breathe. My steps echoed on the metallic floor, each sound swallowed quickly as though the space refused to carry noise for long. I turned, but the forest, the tower, the night hall were gone. Walls rose around me, shifting. They weren't built of panels or stone, but of some liquid sheen, like mercury held in place. Shapes swirled within the surface as angles forming, dissolving, reforming again. The architecture wasn't made to be seen with human eyes. It bent, curved, and unfolded in ways that unsettled my stomach. And then the hum returned low, steady, vibrating through my bones. The same tone I had heard near the circle. It felt alive, purposeful. Almost curious. My recorder, still in my hand, flickered with static, its light blinking irregularly. I raised it, but before I could speak, a voice slid into my head. Not spoken. Not imagined. Delivered. Precise. The observer. The word pulsed, as if my entire mind resonated with it. My heart pounded. I whispered aloud, my voice trembling. "Who are you?" No answer. Only another pulse. Stronger. The observer. Something shifted above me. I lifted my eyes and froze. Hanging in the darkness was a shape vast beyond comprehension. Not a vessel. Not a structure. A presence. Its outline flickered like fractured glass, shifting between angles my eyes could not hold. It seemed to extend forever, though I sensed it was all contained in the chamber around me. The vibration grew louder, splitting into multiple tones. A chorus. The sound wasn't external, it filled me, pulling thoughts apart, scattering memories like leaves in wind. Faces, voices, fragments of my past flicker across my vision, my mother-s laugh, Petro-s warning, the cadet's young eager eyes. All unraveling pulled into that hum. I shouted, desperate. "Stop, get out of my head." The hum ceased suddenly, completely. The silence was heavier than sound. I gasped, chest burning. Then light. Not blinding, but soft pale. It poured down from the shifting presence, forming into patterns around me. Symbols, geometric, spiraling. They hovered, rotated, and locked into place. I didn't understand them, but somehow I felt them. A language that wasn't words, but meaning itself. A warning. A plea. Both. And then the floor opened beneath me. Not physically. A sensation, as if gravity had been replaced by intention. I was pulled forward, downward, into another chamber. The walls here were darker, absorbing light. My stomach clenched. The air grew denser. Shapes moved in the shadows. Not like the vast presence above, but smaller. Humanoid. Dozens of them. Their forms flickered in and out, translucent yet undeniable. I stepped back, breath ragged. They didn't move closer, but they all turned their heads at once. Watching me. And in the silence, another thought entered my mind, calm, deliberate. Shoes. The word rang like a command. I swallowed, throat tight. Choose what? Choose how? But the shadows advanced. One step, then another. And behind them, in the dark, something far larger began to stir. The chamber pulsed as though it were alive. Each wall throbbed faintly with light, synchronized with my heartbeat, or was it the other way around? The figures stood, unmoving, their heads tilted in perfect unison. My breath fogged in the dense air, though it felt neither warm nor cold. Only heavy. Again the voice entered my skull. Not harsh. Not kind. Simply undeniable. Shoes. I tried to speak, but my mouth felt stitched shut by the pressure of the command. Panic surged. I forced out broken words. To choose what? The shadows shifted. And suddenly they weren't shadows. They were faces. Familiar faces. My squad mates. The cadets I had trained with. Petro, his tired eyes fixed on mine. One of them reached out, hand trembling, as if begging for rescue. My chest constricted. I knew these images couldn't be real. They were gone buried long ago. Yet the desperation in their eyes was undeniable. I staggered forward. The floor beneath my feet rippled like water, each step sending concentric circles outward. The cadets whispered in unison. Stay. Their voices were anti-human. The word vibrated through the chamber, a chorus of need. Stay inside this place. Stay be theirs. I shook my head violently. No, you were not real. My words echoed, thinner than I intended, swallowed by the walls. The figures blurred, then snapped back with terrifying clarity. Their eyes were not human, now silver, mirror-like, reflecting me back at myself. The hum returned. Louder. Angrier. The walls convulsed as if the entire chamber resented my defiance. Above, I felt that vast, fractured prison stir again, spilling fragments of geometry down like falling shards of light. Observer witnessed stay. The command split into 3 voices, overlapping, nearly breaking my mind apart. I fell to my knees, clutching my head. The recorder slipped from my hand, skittering across the floor. It sparked to life for a moment, then hissed into silence. When I opened my eyes, the chamber was gone. I stood on a barren plain beneath a black sky. No stars. No moon. Only a horizon that bent upward, enclosing me like the inside of a vast dome. In the distance, jagged towers rose, their tips vanishing into the void above. Between them, shapes drifted. Slow, patient, watching. And just as my heart steadied, the ground beneath me cracked. Thin lines of light spread outward, like veins of fire beneath glass. From below, something immense pressed against the surface, trying to break through. And the void returned closer now, almost within my own breath. If not stay, then follow. The ground split wide, and I fell. There was no end to the fall. No rush of air, no sense of speed, only the weightless sensation of being pulled downward through endless layers of black. My stomach should have churned, but instead there was only stillness, as though gravity itself had been rewritten. Then impact. But not pain. I landed softly on a surface that wasn't solid, yet held me all the same. It rippled like liquid glass, responding to my weight, but not breaking. I steadied myself, breathing hard. The world around me was wrong. An infinite plane stretched outward, reflecting a sky that was not a sky but a shifting mass of shaped triangles folding into circles, cubes unraveling into threads, collapsing and rebuilding in silence. It hurt to look too long. And then a sound faint but clear. A rhythm. Like footsteps. I turned. In the distance, a figure was walking toward me. At first, it looked human. The stride, the proportions, the weight of each step, it all mimicked the familiar. But as it drew closer, I saw the distortions, arms that bent slightly too far, legs that seemed longer when in motion than when still. Its face was blurred, as though covered in mist that refused to lift. Follow. The word vibrated not in my ears, but in the strange surface beneath my feet, rippling outward like a signal. I hesitated. My instinct screamed to run, yet there was nowhere to go. The plane stretched infinitely in all directions. Behind me, I glanced toward the horizon, and froze. Shapes rose from it. Towering silhouettes taller than mountains, moving with impossible slowness. Their limbs were long and jagged, their outlines flickering in and out of geometry as if they couldn't hold to one form. Each movement sent waves across the surface, tilting me closer to collapse. The blurred figure extended its hand toward me, waiting. Not urgent. Patient. As though it already knew I had no other choice. My chest tightened. I whispered hoarsely, almost to myself. What are you? The mist around its face shifted. For the briefest moment, I thought I saw my own features stirring back. My own eyes. My own expression. We are what listens, we are what waits. And then the ground convulsed violently, forcing me forward. I stumbled, my hand brushing against the figure S. The moment we touched, the world shattered. The world tore apart around me, not with sound, not with explosion, but as if reality itself peeled away layer by layer. Shapes I couldn't name twisted, elongated, folding into themselves like origami under invisible hands. The sky, or what I thought was sky, had become a lattice of impossible geometry, every angle bending light in ways my eyes couldn't follow. I fell forward, tripping over nothing, landing on a surface that rippled and shifted beneath me. The blurred figure steadied me. Its hand was impossibly warm. Do you see now? It asked not with voice, but with thought. Direct. Clear. My mind vibrated in response. See what? The figure tilted its head. Behind it, the infinite plane had been replaced by a chamber of light. Floating shapes rotated in perfect silence, some geometric, some impossibly organic. The air or absence of it thrummed with an intelligence, observing, waiting. Everything you know is only the first layer, the thought said. We exist beyond perception. We are both watcher and observed. You are here to see and to decide. I swallowed hard, heart hammering. Decide what? I whispered aloud. My voice cracked, yet echoed strangely, as if multiple versions of me spoke simultaneously. The figure gestured, and the floating shapes rearranged themselves, forming what looked like a map of the Earth. Only it wasn't Earth. Cities shimmered, continents bent impossibly, oceans flowed like liquid metal. Lights blinked across the globe in patterns I couldn't comprehend, and each blink felt alive. All connected, all observed. I realized then that this place was not just elsewhere. It was a layer of reality itself. One that existed above, beyond, unnoticed. And somehow, incomprehensibly, I had become part of its observation. The blurred figure spoke again. Some will stay, some will leave, the choice is yours, but what you choose affects all beneath. I stepped back, panic rising. Stay? Leave? You mean my world? The thought pulsed stronger, almost pressing into me. Yes, the observer, decide, witness, act. And then, movement fast, sudden, and impossible. Thousands of tiny lights surged toward me, converging in a shape that twisted and reformed in seconds. It wasn't alive in any way I knew. Yet its intent was clear. It wanted me to move. I raised my hands, heart pounding, trying to understand, trying to resist, but the figure, as presence entered my mind again. Do you choose or do you let them decide? And as I froze, the light struck. The light struck me not with heat, not with pain, but with understanding. Images, sensations, knowledge poured into me at impossible speed. I saw cities, forests, oceans all alive with patterns I could not fully comprehend. Every action, every thought on earth rippled outward, connected, observed. And above, they watched. Aghast, staggering backward. My mind reeled. I don't understand. Then choose, the voice pressed into my skull. Observer, your decision will echo through what lies below. I looked around. The blurred figure waited, patient. The infinite shapes pulsed, bending, twisting, urging me to act. My hand shook. My recorder, lying nearby, spot, projecting tiny holographic fragments of what I had seen images of my own world, altered, fragile. I realized the choice was not simple. To stay here safe, with knowledge beyond human reach, meant abandoning my world to their observation, to the currents of insane forces. To leave meant returning to ignorance, carrying memories of what had been revealed, but risking being drawn back, marked forever altered. The lights coalesced into a doorway, a threshold, pulsing, inviting. I felt its pull, magnetic, almost physical. Behind it, glimpses of Earth. My home. My street. The air outside my house on that first night, fragrant with dew, stars above. Safe. Ordinary. Yet irrevocably changed. I swallowed, heart racing. If I choose to leave, I whispered. The figure nodded, not approval, not warning, just acknowledgement. The chamber shifted. The lights surged, forming a tunnel of flowing geometry. I stepped forward, each pace pulling memories, senses, and understanding into focus. The moment I emerged, I was falling through the void again, less violently this time, the sensation of the pull guiding me. Stars. Trees. Familiar shapes. Hues stretched below me, mundane and yet impossibly fragile in its ordinariness. I landed softly in the grass outside my house. My chest heaved. The night was still. Clear. Silent. But I knew, as I glanced upward, that they were watching always. Waiting. Patient. I retrieved my recorder. The last thing I captured, a whisper, distant but unmistakable. Observer, the sky listens. And then silence. I lay on the grass, chest heaving, staring up at the sky. The stars were ordinary again, or so I thought. For a moment, relief washed over me. I was home. Alive. The night smelled of dew, of summer, of the world I knew. Then a shadow passed across the moon, a glimmer, brief, almost imperceptible. My stomach tightened. It wasn't a plane, not a meteor. Not anything I could name. And yet I knew it had been there, watching, testing. Waiting. I turned on my recorder, shaking. The tape, the one I thought was lost, played back. Static first. Then the whisper, faint but distinct. The observer always above. My heart raced. I realized the truth I had not truly left. Not entirely. A part of me, some fragment, remained with them. Watching, learning. Waiting. Days passed. Everything seemed normal. I returned to teaching, to cadets, to the routines of life. Yet sometimes at night, the sky felt different. Silent, heavy, as though it remembered me, I would glance up, catch a flicker of movement, a shape just at the edge of sight, and my mind would fill with the echo of that last command: observe, decide, witness. Then the unexpected. One evening, while reviewing navigation charts, I noticed a detail I had overlooked before: a pattern in the stars, subtle, repeating. Not random. A message, almost imperceptible, but unmistakable. My pulse quickened. They were sending something. To me. Well, through me. I realized I could no longer ignore it. The experience had changed me, embedded knowledge I could not fully explain. A moral, a warning, a temptation to stay human or to reach for the sky again. And in that moment, I understood the ultimate paradox. They do not just watch us. They listen. They test. And some, the brave or the marked, carry pieces of their world back into ours. I was one of them now, yet still myself. Yet not. I looked up once more. And for a heartbeat, I thought I saw them waiting, patient beyond comprehension. And then the sky was empty.